And so here's what I want to talk with us about tonight, as this has been on my heart, maybe for the last 2 months. Let's declutter. Let's declutter. And I know when I say that, we have different ideas and thoughts about it, and we're going to get into it. As is our custom in our mental health sessions, we always do a check-in. So let's check in. This is a self check-in. This is very personal to you. You don't need to answer in the chat if you don't want. If you want, you can. There's always that opportunity. You may go ahead and do that. But it's that place where you really just reflect. Reflect on these questions I've asked. Reflect on where you are at personally. Our mental health sessions are about that. It's a self check-in. So let's do that. First question. How is your emotional temperature coming into this space? Right? And I know when we think of temperature, we know whether it's like a thermometer, whether it's like a kettle that's boiling, whether you feel like a volcano about to erupt, whether you feel like spark plugs that's just flying everywhere. How is your emotional temperature? How do you feel? And I don't mean based on the weather outside, whether it's hot or cold, your emotional temperature coming into the space. If you were to pause, take a deep breath in this moment, how do you feel emotionally if you're being honest to yourself? And I'm not asking about your thought. That's your thinking. What are you feeling right now? That temperature. Frustrated, sad, tired, overwhelmed, hopeful, grateful, excited, that emotional temperature. Just answer that for yourself. And so the next check-in, and it would be nice if you like write these things down so you look back, date them, and say, you know, this is how I felt on this day. Use one word to describe where your mind is at right now. And that could be a place. That could be just a thought. It could even be an emotion, but that's where your mind is kind of going. My mind is fuzzy. My mind is confused. It's perplexed. My mind is in Bali. My mind is in Jamaica. It could be a place, could be an emotion. Just use one word. Where is your mind at? Maybe it's a thought about change. Maybe it's shaking up something. I don't know. What are you thinking? Where's your mind at right now? And the next question I want you to answer honestly and truthfully to yourself as you list one word is, what's the thought that's dominating your mind lately? What's that one word? It's just been dominating your thoughts. Sadness, frustration, just being overwhelmed, challenging, or maybe just tired. One word that's dominating your thoughts. Maybe incompetence, inadequacy, lack, I don't know, one word. And then for the fourth question, I want you to name one thing that's frustrating to you. It could be anything, but you find if you just pause and think about it, you realize this has been frustrating for me. What's that one thing? Maybe it's a job, maybe it's your relationship with your spouse, maybe it's relationship with a partner, like a business partner or some friend you're in deals and businesses with. One thing that's just been frustrating. Frustrating, maybe it's church. Maybe it's a certain relationship, you know, social. Maybe it's yourself. You're frustrated with your own self. One thing, maybe it's ministry. maybe it's children, whatever it is, that one thing that's been frustrating to you. And then it's not all gloom. I want you to write two things. And this time I ask for two things that are going well. Because sometimes we struggle to find good things. We call these in therapy the protective factors, the things that are strengths and they are good and they give you hope. So write two things that are going well. Maybe it's your job, maybe it's your friendship, maybe it's your marriage, maybe it's your relationship with your children, maybe it's your relationship with God. Two things. So if you're done with that, you can look that over briefly. Does that feel right for you? Does it feel like this is really what's going on for you? Does it speak truth to where you're at? Your emotional temperature, where your mind is at right now? One word that's dominating your thoughts? One thing that's really frustrating. I mean, there could be 10, but we just want one. And then we want you to think of two things that are going well and write those down. And with the heading, going well, so that you can remember those. This is frustrating. So you think about changing that, working on that, altering that, doing whatever it is that you need to do. The thought that's dominating, what do you need to do about that? Is it a thought that you want to stay, or is it a thought you'd like to go? Things like that. So we want to do the check-in so that we know how to change and how to move forward. And so when we think of decluttering, I ask those check-in questions because depending on what we want to stay and what we want to go, then truly we are going to have to do some kind of decluttering. And a Google search, any research, I mean, we can all Google everything these days. The two first definitions came from my Google search. That decluttering is about removing unnecessary items from an untidy or overcrowded space. So we think of that. And then I like this one. I think it came from the Cambridge Dictionary, but it says it's the activity of removing things you do not need from a place. So you don't need it anymore in order to make it more pleasant and more useful. And that's what we want to think about, whether it's the thought or the frustrating thing, something that we want to move. We don't need this anymore. We want to move it from the place in order to make it a more pleasant and useful place for us. So in short, this is my summary of it. That decluttering is getting rid of unnecessary stuff, things that do not serve you anymore. And sometimes it doesn't mean that they are all bad things. It just doesn't serve you anymore, and you will be better off without them, and for different reasons. So what am I talking about? Let's look at this. So for some of us, this might be a little fuzzy, but when we think of clutter, this is what clutter looks like. It's like this untidy room. It's physical clutter, a lot of things around us, just things everywhere. And mostly when we think of clutter, we think of clutter physically, because we can picture this. We can picture this kind of mayhem going on in some of the spaces around us, or people that we know, or the frustration of not being able to get it all in one place and tidy it and in their respective places in that way, even if it's in the same one space. So this clutter tends to speak a lot more to the physical, but this is the first thing that might come to mind for us when we think of clutter. We think of junk, we think of things everywhere, we think of a mess. And that's exactly what I want to talk to us about today. That mess. And mess for me here is the acronym. I literally did that play on the word here. That clutter is mess. So it's not just the physical things around us that we see, but indeed that clutter is mental. Our mind is full of unnecessary thoughts and ideas. Clutter is also about the emotional things around us and the way we are impacted emotionally, where our bodies carry around the weight of negative emotions. That's emotional clutter. Clutter is also social, where we engage in keeping groups or people or connections in our lives that do not serve us well. So it's just a lot around us, but what is the purpose? And clutter is also what we can experience spiritually. It's harboring baggage that impact our inner peace and internal growth. Anything that affects our inner peace will impact how we relate to God. Anything that affects our internal growth will impact how we relate in our relationship with the Lord. So clutter is mess. It's mental, it's emotional, it's social, and it's spiritual. And I hasten to say that mess is different for everyone. That goes without saying. And it's not like we have we're different persons. We know that. And even if the saying goes, seven brothers, seven different minds, even if you have siblings, even if you're from the same household, it doesn't matter. We are different in every single way, right? Even if you are twins, you are still different. So I want us to think about the fact that we are very different from everybody else in this space right now. You're very different from the persons in your household hearing this same presentation tonight. You're very different from the persons, your own children that you have given birth to, or those you have raised, or those that are your own genetically, or those that are your own spiritual. You're different. And I want us to remember that what is mess for me might not be mess for someone else. What is a mental, emotional, social, and spiritual clutter for me may not be the same for someone else. And so there are two scriptures I want to just bring to the focus tonight, in addition to the portion of scripture that I know Cara already read for us. But I just want us to remember that the scriptures tell us clearly, and this by no means we are comparing ourselves to God, but how the text models and remind us that we are very different people. That Isaiah said of the Lord in Isaiah 55:9, that as the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher, said the Lord, than your ways, and my thoughts than your thoughts. And that's how, in so many ways, we differ from each other. Our ways are different, and our thoughts are different, right? And so Paul writes in 1 Corinthians 12, if you read verses 14 right through to verse 27 or so, I've listed here verses 14 to 20 and verse 27. He says here, for the body does not consist of one member, but of many, right? And if the foot should say, because I'm not a hand, I do not belong to the body, that would not make it any less a part of the body. And if the ear should say, because I'm not an eye, I do not belong to the body, that would not make it any less a part of the body. If the whole body were an eye, where would be the sense of hearing? If the whole body were an ear, where would be the sense of smell? But as it is, God arranged the members in the body, each one of them, as he chose. If all were a single member, where would the body be? As it is, there are many parts, yet one body. Verse 27 says, now you are the body of Christ and individually members of it. And that's what I want us to bear in mind, that though we are all believers, we're all Christians, we go to church, we worship, we do our devotions, we all do them in different ways because we are individuals. We're individuals. And so many times what I find is that we judge each other based on how we live individually, right? We judge each other not so much on the grace in understanding that other persons are different, and that something that is a stress and a mess for me may not be for someone else. And so we want to bear that in mind in this decluttering of who we are. This is about a self-reflection and recognizing I am an individual in the body of Christ. And so is the other person, an individual in the same body of Christ. We are different members individually. And so it's important that we take an introspective look at our lives in this decluttering process and see how we will move and what impacts us. And so let's look at the M, the mental clutter. The mental clutter, and I have this picture here depicted that I think that sometimes this is what some clients will draw for me. Where are you at? What is the temperature of your mind right now? And this is literally what some persons would draw. Just a web, just tangled up. It's like, where do I find the end? How do we untie this? This reminds me of my water hose that I was trying to wrap up just last night after watering my plants. It's like this. It's thick and it's just difficult to get right. To get right. And so it's kind of this tangled mess that you have to take your time and process through and be patient and get it there. This is your mind in a state that feels like a messy desk, like a messy room, maybe like the picture we had earlier of a clutter in a room. This is when your mind feels like it has an overload of thoughts. And I know that there are persons who can identify with that, where you feel like all these ideas are just like a train. They're all over the place. You have this idea and they're just like running epistles, so many things going on. Oh my goodness, I don't know how we keep focus and not lose our minds. Because this is a mental clutter when it's finding your thoughts all over the place. You're scattered. Everything is mixed up, the confusion, the mayhem. And just like you enter a room that's not tidy, just like some persons have some closets, like everything is just thrown in there and you don't know where to find what. Sometimes, can you imagine that? That some of us, our minds operate like that. You can barely pick out the sane, sensible, neatly folded, nicely organized because it's just scattered and all over the place. And imagine having to live with this every day for some persons. Clutter is a mess. It's a mess. And so your thinking feels out of control. It's just spiraling. It's all this negative. Like you can't get it. You feel impatient with yourself. And then you begin to think that I'll never get it right. I'm not good at this. I'm going to get fired at work. Or they're going to find out that I'm a fake. Or I can't keep this up. I'm going to crash. Nobody likes me. And we're just spiraling. We're just spiraling. That is mental clutter. And it seemed like there's no way to stop the knots that are just tangled up and they just keep tying themselves up more and more and more and more. It's difficult. It's difficult. And it's difficult to process reasonably. It's difficult to think because this is your mind. This is how your brain is functioning. It's a cluttered brain, everything. And so it's just blurry and foggy and there's no focus because there's too much clutter happening up here, too much clutter. And so this is part of what we need to work on in this season. If we're going to change anything, we have to start with the mind. We have to start with the mind because that is the seat of emotions, right? This is where we bear everything. This is the heart. This is the whole frontal lobe. This is where we are going to get the focus of, okay, I need to seriously sit down and organize and process something. If your mind is cluttered, if your brain is cluttered, then it's difficult for anything else to fall into place because it impacts what you feel and it's going to impact what you do. And so that's going to affect us in our emotions, in our social life, in our spiritual life. And of course, it goes without saying, when there is mental clutter, we see it around us. We see it in our spaces. Everything turned upside down in the closet, in the bed, on the dresser, everything is happening. It's a reflection of the mental clutter. And so that's how it shows up. So then we have the emotional clutter. And I'm sure just looking at this guy that some of us can relate. You're just done. It's just tiring. Your emotions are all over the place. You're hot and cold. Remember that emotional temperature I asked you about? How are you coming into this room? What is your emotional temperature in the space tonight? It's like right now it's just tired. Everything, shoulders tense, neck, everything, heart racing, palpitations, your anxiety is through the roof. You don't even know why you're anxious. You're just anxious. You're just anxious. You're probably right now just shaking those legs, or just twiddling your thumbs, or just something, because it's part of the anxiety. It's clicking that pen. It's part of the anxiety. It's the emotional clutter. It's overwhelming negative feelings that are so big. And so others looking on and think, what are you so, like worked up about? And that is very invalidating, because remember, it's individual. We're all one body, but it's individual, because we can't see what's happening in this tangled mind. So what the person feels is big, and you're there with a clear mind thinking, I don't get it. Like, I'm lost. I mean, they just got so worked up. That's our own self-judgment of what is big for this person in their emotional state, because lots happening there that we cannot see. And so it's overwhelming, it's huge, it creates waves of extreme feelings, from sad to confused to perplexed to worried. Some people are in this emotional clutter. You're worried about what hasn't happened it's not even going to be due till 6 months, a year from now. And you are experiencing the tremors of fear and anxiety from today. Can you imagine what that must feel like to live with that? 6 months in advance, a year in advance, worry that you are carrying. 2 weeks in advance, and you're worried from right now, today. And that creates all kinds of problems physically in our bodies, physiologically, all kinds of problems, fatigue, tiredness. Your body is just broken down, because your brain is working overtime, and it's signaling to the body, and it's sending everything, and your body's keeping the score, and then you just crash. You just crash. You just crash. Waves of it: guilt, shame, anger. Then everybody sees the anger, right? We talk about the iceberg before. And so anger is the obvious thing at the tip of the iceberg. It's what is shown to everyone. That's how people know something's wrong, because you get angry. But beneath that iceberg, underneath that, is what we can't see. It's all the thoughts that were going on, all the thinking. I'm not good enough. Nobody likes me. I don't belong. I'll never get out of this cycle. My life is stuck. All the thoughts that were under there, just driving the anger. And then you just blow, right? So it's a feeling of just hopelessness and the stuckness, and it's loads of unresolved. Let me tell you, emotional clutter, truckloads of unresolved issues come up. When you're emotionally cluttered, you start to think of things 10 years ago, 15 years ago, some mistakes that you made, and you're like, oh my God, how did I do that? And then you start to experience the feeling as if it happened right now in this moment, and it's fresh and it's going on. And so you create stress and anxiety and guilt and shame and regret and pain, and you just feel worthless. Emotional clutter. And can you imagine that these are not things that people can just readily see the whole picture? We just see the emotion, but we don't see the buildup that started in the mind and then exhibited this. So it's a tough place. It's a tough thing to carry. And it's a tough thing for others around you as well, to be able to manage if you're not honed into that place of just validating someone, just trying to be supportive and to empathize and say, I'm not sure why this is so upsetting right now, but I'm here, and bringing that sense of support. And so we want to know that clutter is also a social thing. And I think many persons fall into this more than we realize. And many persons, I think, of all the parts of the mess, I think this is the one that sometimes we least see, that they're just like, well, I don't have any friends. I need to be this, or I need to do this, but they're nice, and we talk about this socially, and we continue to go, or you continue to draw, where you feel like everybody wants a piece of you. And then when social clutter gets too big, it drives to the extreme where now you begin to isolate. You don't want to see anyone because you're tired of seeing people. And it's not because you don't like them and it's not because you hate people, but you just got burnt out by people. And that's the feeling you have where everybody wants a piece of me and you want to scream. And so social clutter is having too many relational connections around you that are draining and that they bring negativity or additional pressure to you. So you can have lots of people around you as long as it is positive, as long as they're not asking so much more of you that contradicts with the vein of who you are, because that's where the problem is. When people are requiring more from you than you can personally give, you do not have that capacity. And you cannot measure yourself with someone else, right? So when you say, oh my God, Pastor Karen is good, she does this, that's my capacity. And your capacity may be to not even be able to tolerate two people. Maybe your capacity is one. And there's no judgment for that. That's your capacity. And that's what will make you the best of you. And anytime you get to the 2 and 3 and 5 and 10 and 15, you crash. And then you're trying so hard to keep up with Pastor Karen because, oh my God, like we're connected, we're friends, and I need to not be this. But you're operating out of the vein of who you are. And that's where the social clutter comes in. You're being stretched to take on assignments or appointments because of your connection with people around you. And it's not something that you are made up of. It's not your capacity. You're not able. So what that does is that it feels negative for you. It feels pressuring for you. And so it's okay to recognize that this is not who you are. It's like continuously trying to fit a square peg into a round hole. You're just trying to fit it. It's not going to work. It will never work. But the only way to manage social clutter is to recognize who you are, to be fully aware, and to be authentic with yourself. And so the other S in the mess. So we've done the mental, the emotional, the social, is the spiritual clutter. And I thought this image was so cute. I said, now, where did I put my Bible? Now, notice if you can see this. I know it's a little blurry because I stretched it, but the Bible is behind the couch. There's a whole bowl of popcorn, the remote where recliner is out, soda even spilled on the ground, and watching TV. Everything is there. Everything is happening because you're chilling here. It's spiritual clutter is anything that gets in the way of building and maintaining your relationship with God. And it could be this that's on the screen. It could be any activity, whether it's the friendships or how we binge watch and never stop to pray or have time to read scripture, but you'd be surprised to see how we spend 3-4 hours in front of Netflix or Prime or any other medium to catch up on the latest. And we're, oh my God, I didn't realize I spent so much time, but it was so frustrating just to spend 5 minutes. Or to think we couldn't find 5 minutes. So whether it's leisure or work or social media, I remember that we heard about that too in Testimony Bible Study. It's about just scrolling, minding other people's business. And before you know it, you go to bed past midnight every single night and you wake up frustrated and tired and not able to function because you just streaming and scrolling and streaming and scrolling. Spiritual clutter. And the scripture read for us tonight says, now the works of the flesh are evident. Sexual immorality, impurity, sensuality. And a lot of these come in a lot of the things we stream and watch and come across. Idolatry, which sometimes is the very things that anything we put before God, that has become our God. Sorcery, right? So enmity, so the unforgiving spirit, the anger, the hate, the resentment, all of those works of the flesh, the impurity, the strife, jealousy, fits of anger, rivalries, always competing. My goodness, always competing. Just have every, and that is what social media does. You see somebody and you don't even know how many filters they put on that. I mean, give it to them. Like you don't even know where the filter buttons are many times, but that's my own lot. But you don't know. You don't know what they have done or how long ago that picture was. And then all the rivalry. Like you need to do all of this to be that, to be, and the dissensions, the divisions, the envy, drunkenness, orgies, and things like these. That's what the Apostle Paul has written about, the works of the flesh. And they create a clutter within us that we cannot. They get in the way of our relationship. So it's not just about building a relationship. We need to maintain our relationship with God. And so we want to think of that clutter spiritually. Well, things that get in the way of us praying, things that get in the way of our worship, things that get in the way of our reading the word, of our encouraging others, of our spending time in the word, because we have to catch up on the latest, whether it's the news, the movie, the latest show, the latest series, the latest on social media, those things, the latest gossip. Think about the spiritual clutter that we have to endure. So how do we declutter this mess? How do we get through our mental, emotional, social, and spiritual mess? Many of us know how to clear up our physical clutter. We know whether we're going to employ somebody to come in and tidy up for us, or we're just going to get the dump truck up front, or we're going to get a storage to put things away for a while until we can sort it through. Many of us know how to deal with the physical clutter. Some people just get mad one day and just scrape up everything. I think in a lot of ways, when we were growing up in the country back in Jamaica, that's how it was. Your parents get frustrated that everything all over the place, they scrape everything up and they go to the rubbish heap and they light fire. And sometimes you cry because but you were warned to tidy this up to whatever this was. Or sometimes it's just things in the home no longer needed. And some of us are very sentimental with our stuff. Some people are hoarders. They're clients we have to treat at different points who are just hoarders. There's no space to even get in their homes. And this is sometimes a serious mental health issue. It's not just mental clutter, it's a life situation. Hoarders, we can't let go. We continue to just fill up our spaces with these things. So the physical part is not often the problem, because we kind of get upset one day and just throw out everything, or we get somebody to help us to clean up. But it might be the easiest form of the baggage to sort through, though it is still difficult, right? To part with all those things from childhood, to part with all the long time high school things, to part with something you got a long time, you've not even opened the box, it's been 5 years, right? And we are so sentimental, we keep everything. But the greatest struggle is to manage the other pieces of the mess. And so like we differ, we also manage various parts of us differently. So some persons are good with managing their mental clutter. They can just block their minds and get it out. Some persons don't know how to cut off the social part. Like we don't know how to disconnect from people who are toxic. We don't know what to do to get away from that. So as I wrap this up, I just want to say, I thought I'd use the very term clutter as an acronym for us to think of. And I've highlighted them so that maybe you can, see how to process this. How do we declutter? Think of the actual word declutter. When you think of the D, describe and decide where you are in the mess. You have to know if this is where you want to be, or there's something you need to do about where you're at currently. If you don't feel happy with your current state, if your emotional temperature is not what you want it to be, you just continuously hot or too cold, or you're just extreme in your emotions, it's just fluctuating so fast, then you really have to describe that and decide where you want to be in this. Is this something that I'm good with? Do I need to create a change? But you have to first describe that, define it. So you need to know. And so the E, engage in wholesome activities to improve your mental and emotional states. wholesome activities. If it's going to be conversation with people, it needs to be people who will edify you and lift you up, people who will make your spirit come alive. Not the latest news of tearing somebody down. People who will build you up, people who will speak a word into you, people who will motivate your spirit. Engage in activities that will be befitting for you. Maybe for you, it is going for a drive. Maybe for you, it is doing a coloring of some sort. Maybe for you, it is doing some sewing or embroidering or swimming or cooking or hosting people. Whatever it is that is a wholesome activity for you. Maybe it's just hanging out with somebody that you can help to build up, calling them up, taking them out for coffee, calling them up, sitting on the lawn on a picnic blanket, just spraying over them. It doesn't have to be money spending. Whatever it is that is a wholesome, meaningful activity that will make you feel better. Not sitting down 6 hours and then when you're done eating all the popcorn, all the chips, all the soda, then you feel guilty and ashamed because you just wasted 6 hours and all you're fat because you eat all the wrong unhealthy things. So the shame of that and the guilt was not wholesome for you. And maybe for somebody else, that's an activity that is their thing and they feel great. You have to know you and recognize what is a wholesome activity for you to engage in, right? So it's important that you do what works. For me, it might be it doesn't matter how late. I may just feel so frustrated and like, you know what, this is not working. I just need a walk. I just need fresh air. And I do that at any time of day, early morning, late night. And that for me is the first thing that pumps me into getting something else. And then it energizes me to do other things, maybe to clean up the physical space, maybe to finally get into the devotion I never got into because I wasn't in the frame of mind. You're reading over the verse for 100 times and you're not getting it because your mind is not there, right? Maybe it's after that, while I'm walking, I'm like, you know what, devil, you can't cross the bloodline. There is a bloodline, there's a boundary line against you, and there's a warfare in me. Wholesome activity, something that's going to shift the gear around you. And so the C, compassion. Compassion is key to decluttering your mind and spirit. Please don't beat up on yourself. The world is already good at that, right? People already do that to you. Just forgive yourself, whether it's a past mistake. And like I said here, it's just that, mistake. If it's something that you did not want to do or engage in and it happened, it was a mistake and it will be a mistake. And that's okay. It's in the past. We move right along. We move on. We talk to God about it. We pick ourselves up. We make plans around it. Give yourself compassion. One of our greatest defects in moving forward is how we beat up on ourselves. The things we tell ourselves. Be compassionate to yourself. Have mercy on yourself. That's what it means. Extend care to yourself. And the L, lessen multitasking. Yeah, I know, especially women. I know we do 101 things all together, but lessen multitasking so that you can focus. Too many, you're spread out, spread out too many. If you're spread too thin, it will tire you out and agitate you. So maybe your spread out is 6 and you can manage that. Somebody else's spread might be 5 and they manage that. But maybe for you, you can only do 2 things or just one. One, you can only focus on one. And that's how you get to organize your mind and get yourself, whatever is your thing, you need to know yourself and work with that and lessen all the pieces that are just keeping you so scattered, okay? And you, unattach. You need to unattach yourself from things that do not serve you or add value to you in this season. So if it's the social media, maybe it's taking a break for the next third, right? Maybe if it's some people, maybe you need to do that. If it's a negative thinking that you keep cycling yourself through, maybe you need to unattach yourself from that. And that's going to take work for you to do, but it's something you have to hone in on. It could be thoughts. Since you were a child, you've had that thought and you keep holding on to that. How is that working for you? How has it been serving you? The resentment, the bitterness, how truly, ask yourself, how has it been serving you? Has it done you well? Right? So you want to unattach yourself from anything negative ways. Maybe sometimes it's the negative things you inherited from parents or caregivers, and you hold on to that. Maybe it's time you let it go. It served them in that era. It probably is not serving you, right? Is it people in your social group, places that you're visiting and going, and it just create anxiety and stress for you? You don't need to apologize to remove yourself from anything that's toxic. And T, the first T, take time to know you. Be self-aware. Everybody will have a definition of you. Everybody think they know you, but trust me, only you can truly know your most authentic self. People know what you show them. People know what you let them see. But when you show me something, is that your truth inside? Is that your purest self that you're showing me? Right? People wear masks all the time. The public self that everybody sees and the private self. Now, you know both selves, your public and your private selves, and that is the authentic you. And only you know that. So take time to know yourself and to acknowledge that person, to acknowledge you, that this is who you are. I really don't like to, deal with a lot of people, and that's me. And to acknowledge that and accept that. Or this is me. I'm very sociable. I'm this butterfly. I'm out there. And that's you. And to acknowledge that, be self-aware. Only then will you know when something is going against the vein of who you are. And that's where most of our struggles come, when we're acting in opposition to who we really are. That's where the problem is. That's where it is in how we choose careers. That's where it is in how we have arguments with our spouses. That's where it is. When we're acting opposite to who we are, it makes us uncomfortable, it makes us angry. So take time to know yourself. When last have you done something that makes you proud of you? Not for the crowd, not for somebody else to celebrate you, but you did that for you. And you are like, you rock, you got this, Karen. That's you. What are you doing when you're your most authentic self? And I mean, I don't mean sleeping, like that is easy. What excites you? You're your most authentic self when you're doing this. You feel joy, you feel excitement. And the next T, talk about the clutter. Sometimes you don't know how to unravel it. Talk about the clutter to a trusted and safe person. I cannot overemphasize this, because sometimes you tell people and they clutter you more, right? Or they take your dirty laundry and spread it in the public, right? Therapy helps in a professional sense. And I will always hammer that. But sometimes a good friend, better than pocket money, cheaper than therapy, and who will be true to you and who will be honest and who will be authentic with you and who can help you through the clutter. And E, embrace the change around you. Don't begin to be sad about it that this person not talk to me again. This one not talk, my God, may disconnect from all these people. And now I have no friends, but they weren't helping me. They weren't serving. Yeah, embrace the change. Embrace the change around you. People will come, people will go. People serve you for a season and they don't belong in the next season. And that's okay. So whether it's in people or the assignment that you're walking into, embrace the change that comes in your different seasons. It's the new state of you. And the last thing I want to say is the R. When you've done all of this in the declutter, reflect. Go back, reflect. Do I feel happy with this? Does this make me feel good? Is this really me? Do I feel forced to do this? Am I in this career or this job or this ministry or this position or this friendship or this relationship because somebody's forcing me? Reevaluate. Reflect and reevaluate as many times as it is necessary. And ask yourself, are you happy with you? Are you happy with you? Not everybody else being happy with you and you mad at yourself. Are you happy with the you? That's showing itself when you've decluttered. So how are we going to move into this change in decluttering? Who's ready? And I thought this was cute because, like, yay, two hands voting for myself and anybody else. So let's go. And I chose this picture with this path because it's beautiful. And notice there's no one on it. And it ministered to me that way. That sometimes for you to change, you're ready, you want it, but it's going to be a lonely walk. It's going to be lonely as you declutter mentally, emotionally, socially, spiritually. You may find yourself in on this beautiful walk. Look at this walkway, beautiful. But you may walk alone for a season. It may be lonely, but it is beautiful. So don't forget that. It's beautiful to walk into your most authentic self, into the change that you want to see, into the change that you want to be. And that's where I'll end our presentation for tonight.